And we are live. And I think for about the first time, we have an award-winning author, multi-award-winning author here. She clearly didn't do her homework because she's on our show. But Mercedes M. Yardley, welcome to Bald&Balding.
Hi. You said Gen X, and so I'm like, I have to be on this show. I'm here.
Are you one of us? You're one of our
I'm
people?
one of you.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm one of you.
Does it make you sad when you see like things come out that says this song or that song is like 40 years old or 50 years old this year?
You know, it makes me cry. I don't, yeah. But I mean, I have important things that maybe only you guys would understand,
Nice.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And let's see.
Nice. Skeletor, yes.
Right.
Grayskull.
And my kids are like, who's that? And I'm like, just go to sleep, children.
And how old are your children?
What?
How old are your children?
My oldest is 22, actually. And then I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. But like the old things are coming back. So they know She-Ra, they know Transformers. Like my 17-year-old is into big Transformer things. And my husband's like, here's my Transformer of when I was a kid. And she's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So
Dan M is my brother, and he was crazy about
He-Man.
So yeah, he's probably jealous. He'll probably be looking for that online after the show is over.
We never really got into the whole He-Man kind of that stuff where I lived.
Did you live in space? Like how was that not a thing?
Northern Vermont's the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Takes things a while, It's the 80s didn't get there for a while, like sometime in the early 90s, I think.
Gosh, are they still there? Because let's go visit.
Yeah. Well, the internet has helped move things along now. They're only months behind now instead of years. So
I didn't even have that much money. It was 3D.
You write horror?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Did you show your award? Sorry.
To you guys, not on screen.
Well, I think people would like to see it because it's very cool.
Yeah.
And tell us what it is and everything and when you got it and all about it.
I will. So this is it's called the Bram Stoker Award. It is such a cool award. Let me find the front. So this is like the Oscars of the horror literary genre. And I have two of these. And it has your name and the name of the work. And then, here's the goods. I'll show you the goods. And like snakes on the back and things and little golems and creatures. These are cool. And I was telling these guys that we put them up with our Christmas village and decorate them all the time. And so I have a couple of those. And the newest book I have coming out just made the ballot for like the preliminary ballot for it this year. So I'm really, really excited. So yay.
So you're going for number 3, third time's charm.
Yeah, well, I've been nominated a few times and made final ballot a few times, but I've only won twice. But I mean, I've won twice. I am so excited. They can never take that away from me. They can't pry them from my cold, dead hands.
So what I see is in a few years you're just going to have a really creepy Christmas village.
I kind of already do, but yes.
Well, and for those of you who are just joining us and you weren't on backstage because we didn't let you, calling in from?
I'm calling in from Las Vegas.
Which just sort of fits.
It just kind of does.
Yeah, I imagine you get a lot of good kind of things, inspiration ideas just walking down around Vegas and for
with horror, sure.
Yeah.
But I have a story due in a week that has to be something paranormal in Las Vegas, and I can't think of a thing. So if you guys come up with something, just give me a ring. When I need to be inspired, it doesn't happen.
You're on Area 51's doorstep.
My husband, yes, we are. I'll just say that.
That was your husband. What? We want to know now.
He works close to Area 51.
Oh, okay. Is he government service?
I can or cannot say.
Dang, all right.
No, he works for the nuclear test site. Right, so they're close, and he has like
good times.
Yeah. A cool clearance. Like when we first moved here, I was like, I'm going to bring you lunch. He's like, no, don't, you can't. I'm like, why? And he's like, they will shoot you. If you cross the line, they will shoot you. There is a line. You cannot cross it. Do not bring me lunch. And I'm like, wasn't like that in Seattle. Okay. It was a different vibe there.
Yeah. Air Force flight lines have the same type of thing. They have like an entry control point, and You get people out there sometime, you're like, stay with me. We can. It's just like a red painted line, right? There's a gap in it. But if you don't go through that gap, you have weapons pointed at your head, right? I mean, it's just, they take that very seriously. So
That's
I
so
can imagine
terrifying.
that at a
Yeah, well,
special
they had.
weapons place.
I don't know if you guys heard about they had a Naruto run. I can't remember how to say it, but it was like this like comic guy where the guy like he runs. It's a manga and he runs with his arms behind him. They were going to do that across Area 51 and close to it and things, and it turned out badly for people. Not it turned out badly, but
Yeah.
they do have. It's called the Alien Midnight Marathon. That they have one that goes as close as you legally can go to Area 51. Every summer, it's like during midnights when it starts, and everyone's like wearing little glowing things and dressed up like aliens and trotting by for a marathon or a 5K or whatever. That is cool. That is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So long as you're, within the signs are up there for a reason. Just signs.
Just don't die.
EL thinks that there are a multitude of, paranormal things all around you, apparently.
And Herman,
Nice. Yeah. Got a little out of hand. So
It
what
sort of went sideways. Yeah.
do you have a book getting ready to come out, or one that you just launched recently?
I have one that I just launched. Yeah. So that is this one. It's called Love is a Crematorium, and it's a book of short stories, and it's the one that was nominated and on the preliminary ballot, but it's kind of a horror, dark fantasy type of short story collection. And I just really like it. It's probably my most personal. I mean, I'm a stranger to you guys, so you wouldn't know that, but I tend to write more whimsically and kind of whimsical horror, I guess.
Whimsical horror. That's
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Like, she's dressed in stars, but blood is dripping from her eyes, whatever. It's that sort of thing. But this is kind of more personal and a little bit darker and maybe a little more sad is what I'm getting from readers. And I'm like, I love it. I love to destroy you. So grief horror, maybe.
An acid trip gone wrong. I see
Yeah.
the stars. Oh my God.
But that's my newest one, yes.
How many books do you have?
Yes, please riot. No, just kidding. A bunch.
yes,
That many, huh?
Maybe like 5 or 6 that are just me, and then like anthology. I do a lot of short stories and anthologies and magazines and things like that. But I have others. If you want to see the covers, they're all very pretty.
Sure, yeah.
we
love looking at covers
here. So yes.
Yay!
Just
Okay, this is Pretty Little Dead Girls. That's probably my favorite cover. And this is a fairy tale with a high body count. And we actually turned this into a graphic novel and it's just
nice.
The artist is named Orion Zangara, which is the coolest name in the whole world. And it's incredible. This was Little Dead Red. This is like the only print copy. We're going to get more, but it's e-copy only. This won my first Bram Stoker Award. Yay. So It's Little Red Riding Hood in the modern day. This is Apocalyptic Montessa and Nuclear Lulu, A Tale of Atomic Love, which is really hard to say on command. And it's kind of Romeo and Juliet meets Firestarter. And this one won the Stabby Award. You guys are going to love this.
Stabby Award. Horror people have the coolest award names.
Oh, nice.
And that was your award?
Yeah, it has my name on it. When I visit schools, I can't bring this one with me.
The whole Spiffbo thing now is looking pretty sad.
What is?
The go ahead, self-published fantasy
blog off.
Yeah, blog off award.
No, that's stuff like that is amazing. It's amazing.
Harry Potter's wand if you win.
Yeah, it's
that's something I would want to go for. This is Darling. This is Southern Gothic, and this was my first book called Beautiful Sorrows, and it's a collection. And then I had one that I edited, and then the rest are just short story ones. But those are mine. Those are my children.
All your covers?
I'm sorry?
Same person do all your covers?
Oh, no. They're all different people.
You have managed to
publishing
find
companies.
Winner after winner with your covers then. Those are really nice.
Thank you. They are really amazing. Anyone wants to know who the cover artists are, I think they're all still working and open for commissions, but I'll tell you because they're so good.
If you could leave their names and if they have a link and we can put it in the show notes.
Sure.
On page, Mike, yeah?
That would be
I
awesome.
say we, I mean Mike.
Okay. Mike, is that cool with you?
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with Herman. Fairy Tale with a High Body Count is just a fantastic blurb. I mean, that's the blurb we're all looking for, I think, with our books when we have to say what it's about.
It's hard to condense what it is in one. You know,
That
what is this
you
book?
nailed
Oh,
it.
it's insane.
You absolutely nailed it.
Thank you.
So, how long have you been doing this, and how did you get into it?
Boy, I've been doing it probably about 15 years now. That sounds like such a long time. And I just always really liked to write. But I grew up in a very small conservative town, and like my mother is the librarian and won't put my books in the library because they're horror. So if that gives you an idea, like, Mom, read my book, Mom. She won't. So you weren't supposed to write anything dark. So I always wrote bright, happy things that just kind of didn't feel like there was a lot of depth in them. And then I started writing for real. You know, I put my husband through school and didn't write during college. I was being an adult, taking terrible jobs and doing things like that. And then when my son was born, he has Williams syndrome and autism, which the autism didn't manifest till later, but Williams syndrome has like a ton of physical issues. Like he almost died several times, major heart issues, just a whole bunch of things. And so once he stabilized and we moved down here, I was in an apartment and it was 117 degrees and I had this sick little boy and my husband was at work and he had to take the car, and like, what was I to do? Right. So, and I quit my job to take care of this kiddo because he needed full-time, care. And I wrote my first novel, which I still haven't published because it's trash, but I can fix it. And one day I will. But that's when I started, and I was like, I need to do this like for the rest of my life. This is what makes me happy. I thought I was being responsible by not writing, and I was just like, it was bad. This refills my well. So I started doing that and kind of gradually realized I write horror, a dark fantasy and horror, which was, not allowed kind of. And but that's where I'm happy and that's where I fit in. So I've always kind of been a dark little girl, I guess. But yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
Are you indie or trad?
I mean, both. Mostly I have like one book I put out myself, but the rest are all, small presses.
Okay. So to your mother's point about, you shouldn't do this. I heard about this the other day and I had to look it up.
Just joked something crazy.
So do you watch horror films?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is a list from Time magazine. It is a little dated now. Okay. It's from 2007, but it's a list of the top 25 horror movies of all time. And I guarantee you there's a couple of surprises in here. But this is something you can share with your mother, and there's a reason behind it. But go ahead and tell me some of your favorite horror films, and we'll see if they're on this list from 18 years ago. Good God.
Oh, goodness. I don't like slashers, so all the Nightmare on Elm Streets and stuff like that I've never seen. So Friday the 13th, haven't seen those. Haven't seen The Exorcist, though I've read the book.
Yeah.
I love The Babadook, which I think is the most best example of depression that you can show somebody that doesn't have depression. Like, this is what it's like. It's like being chased by this thing. Anyway, I love The Babadook. I loved like The Conjuring, and when those first started, I thought those were really good. I kind of like the paranormal ones. So, what is Insidious, Sinister? I like the new Boogeyman that came out like last year. I think that's great. Probably none of those are on there from that long ago, huh? They're all
not really. A lot of these movies, I think that the latest ones on this list are 2004.
Oh gosh.
So
it's all like Citizen Kane and like.
Let me. Well, they're horror movies. So
Poltergeist.
Let me run through a few, and you can tell me if you agree or not. Shaun of the Dead, which is
I didn't like it.
Which is more comedy really than Red Dragon from 2002, Audition from 99, Brain Dead, Dead Alive from 92.
I don't know that.
No, Men Behind the Sun from 88, The Fly from 86.
No.
You never saw The Fly? Well, of course you've never seen it.
No, I saw The Fly. I like The Fly.
Well, Mike's never seen it because Mike hasn't seen any movies. Alien from 79, Halloween from
I saw
78,
Alien like 5 years ago for the first time. So Mike,
Carrie and Jaws, so 76, 75.
Jaws.
Yeah.
I guess this is just going backwards in time. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, Night of the Living Dead, Blood Feast, Black Sunday, Psycho, blah, blah, blah. But here's the one that got me, and it's on this list with Nosferatu and Frankenstein. Bambi.
Okay.
The Disney cartoon Bambi is on the 2007 Time Magazine 25 Best Horror Movies of All Time.
So, Ro, did you ever see the little short cartoon Bambi versus Godzilla?
I have not, but now I want to.
Oh, it's great. They show Bambi, frolicking in the woods, and they show Godzilla knocking down buildings in Tokyo, and then it starts getting closer and closer. Then all of a sudden you see Bambi, and Bambi looks up, and this giant green foot goes, stomp!
Yep,
And
yep.
then it ends. It's great. This is my childhood.
I see it now. Okay. Yeah, I just thought, so you can tell your mother, ask her if Bambi is okay. And when
Bambi's in the library.
Exactly. And you can tell her that is on Time Magazine's list of best horror movies. You should take it out of the library and write her a letter, but use somebody else's name, right? And see if you can get it taken out of the library just for shits and grins.
Not your daughter. Sincerely, Mercedes. Yeah, my mom's not going to listen to you.
So you just need to sign it BMW, the initials.
Yeah, my dad's name is Harley. It's just some sick thing.
Harley. So what does a horror writer do for light entertainment?
Horror movies. I bake cookies. They're usually in the shape of voodoo dolls, right? But I like everything. I love podcasts, right? I love baking. I make quilts. I make little voodoo dolls. So I like to sew and craft and do stuff like that. Be outside, but not in Vegas because it's usually just too hot. I like to go hit concerts. I love concerts. So that was the best thing about moving here.
How much do you want to punch in the throat people who say, but it's a dry heat?
You know what? I'll tell you this. Once it hits 114, it can just get hotter and hotter, and you can't tell the difference because your skin is literally sizzling at 114. So if it's like 117, 118, it got to 122 this last summer. I can't tell anymore. I'm dead. It doesn't matter. I mean,
you can actually tell a little bit.
You're crazy.
Yeah, when it gets up into the...
I can't.
Yeah.
114, I'm sizzling, and it just gets hotter, and it's like, you can't, I'm already deceased. It doesn't matter anymore. Bring it on, hateful
It's
son.
just gross at that point. You just like, ugh. Yeah, but when people say it's a dry heat, it's like, you know what? An oven's dry heat too.
Right?
But it's still freaking hot.
Yeah.
It's not somewhere I want to be.
I don't know. I don't believe in comparing pain, right? Like this, my wet heat hurt worse than your dry heat. Like just let us suffer. We're suffering. Just have some sympathy.
Having said that, I knew a priest once who said he didn't believe hell was fire. He believed it was cold because being cold is much, much worse than burning, right? Because you burn, right? But cold, you can keep like layering up and trying to fight off the cold, but it's just so cold. Being cold is horrible.
I would rather be cold than be hot. And moving here was hard because I pass out in heat. So I'm like, hey, good to see you. And I'm done. So, give me cold. We lived in Finland and that was amazing. Vegas is tough.
If I had to be outside in one or the other, oh God, they both suck.
Well, I'm a writer, so being inside is my place.
Right, but I mean, if you had to be outside, right?
Finland.
I've been in Saudi Arabia in August, September, and I've been in Fairbanks, Alaska in January, and they both blow, right? They're both horrible. But one of them you can't feel any of your extremities, and all you can have is like your eyes showing, and you have to have something covering them. And the other one is just Satan's underwear. It's just freaking. Well,
Describe Satan's underwear to me, slowly and in graphic detail.
It's very, very hot, and it smells kind of like a petrochemical plant in the distance.
But only in the distance? I mean, that's a step
Well, I
up.
mean, you're not right on it. I mean, I imagine it smells that way if you're right there too, but you can smell it in the air. It's gross.
I'm impressed, honestly.
Gross.
And to answer Dan's question, you move where the jobs are, right? So my husband has a very specific job. Like I said, he works at the nuclear test site. You can't do that except in Vegas, pretty much,
That's
or
pretty
New
limited.
Mexico.
Limited
So that's not a
scope.
job for like Minnesota or
Not New York City,
no, they frown on that there. They frown on that there.
So in your writing, do you have like zombies or vampires, or do you just psychological horror like Thelma and Louise?
More like I love vampires, but it's hard to write them without being, how many have you seen? And some people can do it really well, but if someone says, and I worked for a horror magazine for like a really long time, if someone says a story and says it's vampires or it's werewolves or it's zombies, that's already a really hard sell, because it's so familiar. I like to do serial killers, I guess. I grew up in like Ted Bundy country, so that was kind of present. Like he murdered my favorite teacher's best friend. So there's kind of all of that in the background, just kind of steeped in just everywhere. And so I like to do that. And I like to do paranormal. Like I really like, ghosts and the otherworldly, and religious horror, like the demonic. I love to read those. That sort of thing. And that's what I like to write a little bit more. I don't like gore for gore's sake, really, but I like creepy, psychological, what man can do to man, that sort of thing. Like Lord of the Flies, I'm so mad I didn't write that. That's so good, that sort of thing.
But wistful, creepy.
But whimsical.
Whimsical.
Lord of the Flies, but they have fairy wings.
So when you write, do you plot everything out, or you just
no.
kind of run with it?
No, I cannot plot. I am the definition of a pantser or a gardener. I sit down. So Pretty Little Dead Girls, the one that's the fairy tale with the high body count. I sat down and I had this sentence in my head, and it was like, Bryony Adams is the type of girl who gets murdered. And I was like, okay, there's my book. And I sat down and wrote it, and that was it. That was it. I didn't know what was going on or who the characters were. I'll just sit and write and discover things. And I like that a lot because it keeps it fresh and new for me. I've tried to outline things, and I feel like the story, I'm bored. I already know how it ends, so.
You wrote that based on the opening line? And
that book?
You had no idea where it was going, like the end?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No. And just that line, she was the type of girl who got murdered, and I'm like, well, why? What madness is this, And yeah, so you just follow it. And I like very character-driven stories. So I'll have the characters do things and then be like, so what happens now? What happens now? I don't plot like ahead. So like I would struggle writing like a murder mystery or something that has to like piece together in that certain way. Mine's much more free-spirited is what we will call it. Elegant cruelty. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to put it.
You're giving Mike hives, by the way.
Why is that? Are you a plotter?
I used to plot everything out, and then my characters would be like, no, I'm not doing that. And then I'd have to replot, and then they'd decide to do something different, and I'd have to replot. So I'm much less. It's now just like, these are the signposts I have to hit, but how I get there is a negotiation.
That sounds great. That sounds like a more realistic plotting, especially like, I feel like if you make your characters do things that don't feel true to them, I'm going to stop reading your book. You can tell when an author's forcing something because the plot says to do this or the plot says to do that. Yep. So
I have to ask you, because there are characters in things that aren't considered horror who are definitely characters who could be horror characters. So having said that, and Mike probably knows where I'm going with this, and anybody who's watched this show before is probably rolling their eyes saying, why are we beating this horse again, Bushy? But
Jar Jar?
No. You've seen Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the hero of Harry Potter?
Severus Snape.
Thank you. I
Oh,
knew we'd find somebody eventually.
he will be insufferable now for a month at least.
I'll dine off that for a couple of weeks. Thanks.
I am like, is there a doubt? Is this actually a debate with people?
So
Exactly.
I will say Glock is one of my favorite characters I ever read,
Who?
but Abercrombie does not know how to write a plot to save his life. But Glock is one of my all-time favorite characters. He's a torturer who kind of feels bad about it sometimes, and sometimes he laughs about it. Wild character, love it. But yeah, there's no plot to that book, so I'm kind of over reading his stuff.
So how do you put characteristics into your character, especially horror characters, that make them identifiable or somebody that people care about?
I steal a lot of stuff from people or myself, like what's a tick that they have or something that's very precious to them that you wouldn't expect, or what is, and I love horror characters. I love villains. Villains are my favorite, right? Because villains, let me show you something else I have on my desk, because apparently it's just full of toys. So you saw my Skeletor, and here's my Maleficent. Like, villains are the ones that make the story going, right? So you're reading the story and it's just, here's some hero that's not a hero yet. He's the pig keeper, because we're just going to use that one. That's my favorite. And he's like doing nothing until some mentor comes up and says, you've got to go fight this big bad, right? And then the hero is forced to do something and go become a hero. Whereas the villain has initiative, has ideas, is plotting, is working hard. It's the one that makes things happen. I want to hang out with the villain. So I find it really easy to write, horror characters, because they're not distant from us. Like, we all have the potential. We all have our bad moments, right? We all have things that we thought that were a shame that we thought, I wish, I could just run that guy down because he's in my way. I wish, just for a second, we all have it, things that we wish we didn't think. We all know somebody who's cruel. We've all had somebody be cruel to us. I just think it's really universal. So my thing about horror is it brings everybody together, I think, more than any other genre. Like, if you have, like, I teach a class on this, right? And the example I use is 9/11. Who was here for 9/11? Do you remember exactly where you were? Do you remember how you felt? I remember everything. I remember where I was, where I felt. And then my kid comes home from school and, like, we learned about 9/11, and holds up a little picture that they had drawn, and a big American flag. And I'm like, that's not 9/11. Like, we have it. We are bound together. We share this horrible experience that will bind us together forever. And,
sorry, as we started out as Gen X, we have several touch points like that.
Challenger?
Right. What grade were you in when they rolled in the TV and say, we're going to watch the shuttle take off?
Oh my gosh.
Boom. Oh my. That's not supposed to happen.
Now we're going to talk about death. Yeah.
Question for you: when that happened, how many people at school said, "Oh, we have a grief counselor for you," or was it
Not a one?
off to
You
next
sucked
class?
it up and you went to math class when the bell rang.
Yeah, you went under and you did your, like, Cold War, get under your desk drill right after the Challenger blew. Like, I would have loved a grief counselor. Like, even our cartoons were dark.
Yeah.
You can't see because it's dark in here, but I have the Last Unicorn poster, like the original movie poster from 1983 that's signed by Peter S. Beagle, like hanging up in a frame. Like, that's a dark cartoon, right? The Secret of Nim, all these old ones that we watched were just Watership Down. I mean, we had no chance. We had no chance.
Yeah, there was no Dora the Explorer, or
no one taught us anything except how to do drugs.
So what is the key to rolling one without a lot of air in it? Get it good and tight. That's the
I
key.
would have no idea. Seriously. I am so straight on all that.
Yeah.
I'm like the only horror writer in the world that doesn't drink. And like.
So,
well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean,
no, it's
it
great.
sounds like you've got a pretty level, even keel for what you're trying to do. I think, writing horror drunk would just end poorly for your characters and you. I don't.
That stereotype is a stereotype for a reason. I go to conferences and I'm like, I just want you all to know that I will be the only one that will remember all of this. So I will take video and I will shame you. So pull yourselves together, gentlemen, or whoever's there. Like,
I told my kids when they started getting into high school and everything, I said, what you want to be is the designated driver, okay? Because A, there's no incriminating video on you. B, you get to see all the dumb shit that everybody else does and hold that over their heads for the rest of your life. And you get invited to all of the parties because people need a designated driver.
There you go. And like you said, there won't be incriminating video of you. Thank goodness we didn't have any of that.
Man.
None of us would have
make mistakes not on YouTube. When we were bullied, and we all were, right? I was like beat up, whatever. When we were bullied, it wasn't like going viral, all these things that it was a different time, children, is all I can say.
I literally, in 6th grade, the one kid was complaining he's being bullied, and the teacher said, "Did you hit them back?"
Yeah, did you hit them back?
Right. The question always wasn't a matter of, it was, well, what happened? That was the question.
What
Who
did you do?
started it? What happened? And what did you do? Right? Because the implication, and correctly, is maybe you deserve to get your ass beat. Right?
Maybe just a little bit. Maybe that's true, just a little bit. I don't know. You learned how to deal with different problems. You learned how to deal with different people, because the only people you could hang out with was whoever's on your street. And there's always that complete jerk that would like beat everybody up. You had to hang out with him anyway because there's no choice. So you like learned how to like.
Was that one of your brothers?
No, man. This kid up the street. There was only like 5 of us, 4 or 5 of us, so we had to play together and everything. But this guy, he would go through prick phases. And there was a phase where he would get off the bus at my stop, and I'd put my books in the mailbox, and it's like, okay, go ahead, take a shot, and he wouldn't hit me. And it'd just be like, come on, man, Gilligan's Island starts in like 5 minutes. You're going to hit me, because I got things to do.
Right, get it over with, come on.
And it would be that, like every day. It's like, oh, come on. But yeah.
It was, so I had a friend that got beat up all the time. And this one time I remember I had like a new dress on, right? Like it was a new, really cool dress I got to wear to school, and he was getting beat up. And I remember, because I lived right next to the bus stop, I ran home and changed into something so I could go back and like, I could squall and be on his side, but I didn't want to ruin my dress. Cause like, I remember I'm like, I will be right back in my play clothes. Like, and then I'm coming for it, for him.
Don't die in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, seriously. Cause it was just so common. Like, oh my goodness, but the bully has calmed down, and he's one of my best friends now. But at the time it was like, I'm going to kick your trash as soon as, cause you're beating up on my little buddy, but not in this, beauty. Well, not in this.
People didn't take it as, we've strayed a bit. Sorry, this isn't supposed to be the Gen X hour, but, this is our therapy, because we don't go to actual therapists. We just talk to each other.
We write about it. That's why the horror genre exists.
People didn't, get all, it's like, get over yourself, man. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, suck it up and move on.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah, but we're all broken.
I don't know. I don't think I'm broken.
You are.
You think?
So Mercedes, I've got over my horror of hearing about how you're a pantser, and I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Like a legitimate question.
Oh, right. Yeah, bring that.
So mark the date down. If you're pantsing it, how do you decide where your location is for your story? Does that just, I don't know, today I want to be in Nebraska? Or how do you decide where it takes place? Like the girl who you knew was going to end up dead. Did you decide this was going to be in Compton or what?
In that one, I was like, she's going to end up dead. And I was living in Seattle at the time, and I was just in love with Seattle. So I'm like, we're going to put her in Pike Place Market, like kind of whatever has my whimsy at the time. And I grew up in the desert in Utah. So I'm like, and the desert is very dark and primitive. So I'm like, so the bad thing is going to be the desert. The desert itself like paces back and forth and like leaves footprints on our door. So, but like the last book, the one I'm just shopping right now, it's called The Hunger Garden, takes place in Ohio. And I didn't know that for a really long time. And for me, the place is so important because I really like sentient things, like the sentient desert, or the fire is, sentient and like growling as it comes after you. I like that sort of thing. So to not have my character rooted in a place was really hard for me. So I was like, where is this? And finally I was like, what kind of tree do I want? What are they looking at? Okay, I can find those where? In Ohio. Or I'm going on a trip to Ohio, so maybe I'll scout around and see how that feels. Sometimes a place doesn't come till later. And I find that when it comes to later, then I just have to go back and just edit a few things, But when I find that place, that's what really anchors the story for me.
So you think there's sentient things in Ohio?
Have you been to Ohio?
I grew up in northern Kentucky, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. Don't you think everything's sentient there? Don't you think it is all coming to get you?
I don't know. I mean, I always tell people Ohio, Indiana, Iowa. Is there a difference? No, not really.
Yeah, except Ohio is supposed to be like the most haunted place in the world, I was hearing the other day. So, I mean, I don't know. I think if you were to like kick a tree in Ohio, its root system would come and like get you in the middle of the night through something else.
Well, okay,
Turn
fair.
you into a Browns fan. No, not that.
Well,
Is that sports?
Yes. Sorry.
basically any sports team in Ohio is terrible, so
Okay, that's more than I knew about it.
At least last time I checked, I don't follow pro sports now anymore, so
So
I
you
try to
mentioned
avoid them. They're just obnoxious when they're in Vegas.
you go to concerts a lot.
Yeah,
Do you listen to music while writing?
not with lyrics because it will screw me up.
What do
So
you,
I like
what are
to
you
do
listening to?
I like to do a lot of ambiance. I really like The Who, like not the old The Who, but The Who, HU. They're like Mongolian throat singer rock bands. And they use like their real instruments. I saw them in concert and they're amazing. You need to listen to them. But they're singing in Mongolian. So I get the vibe and kind of this, rock thing, but I don't get the words. Because I'll find if I'm listening to lyrics, I'm either singing along or I'm like writing out the lyrics instead of what I mean to say. So I'm like, she was terrified and she looked at its cute, sweet little face, and it screws me up and wastes time. And I can't do that. So, oh, is it Cinna? That's really sweet of you. Thank you. Appreciate that. That makes me happy.
Ugh.
Oh yeah. So, The Who is kind of heavy metal. But yeah, I like that, but things that I can't, and I also like really whimsical stuff. So I'll think about things a little bit. And then I'll listen to like, the Edward Scissorhands soundtrack, or, I really like, the Smiths, or just kind of that kind of thing. But when I write, it just can't have lyrics. So music soundtracks are good. I did put together a list on Spotify, if you guys ever want to check it out, just dark songs by dark authors, which I asked like a bunch of my friends, and I'm like, what do you want on this writing list? And since I don't know most of them, I can turn it down low enough that I can get the, but not the lyrics. But that's really fun. And it was put together by like, 100 horror authors that are like, yeah, that's what I listen to.
So is it just you're kind of listening to very esoteric kind of music then? I mean, it's not anything generally that people would have heard of.
I mean, a little bit. Like I love like the Killers and, some of the more popular things. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a really small rural town, so like radio stations were country, and what was popular was not ever what I heard. And so now that there's like all these ways to find music, I'm just hungry for it like all the time. So just tell me, I listen to pretty much everything.
John Force says he says he bet Primus.
Yes. Mostly because they did South Park, right? The theme.
Yeah. I can never get into Primus. I probably, it's one of those bands that I know I probably should like, right? But I could just never really get into it. I think Les Claypool is amazing, but it never really worked for me.
There is no such thing as a band that you should like. All this guilt we feel for like guilty pleasures, things that we feel we shouldn't like that we like, or things that we feel we should like that we don't, just break that,
No, just because of the type of music that I do like, they kind of fit into that genre, right? But I just, doesn't happen. That's all right, though.
Any of these bands that you're talking about, I know that shocks you.
What do you listen to, Mike?
He doesn't watch movies. He doesn't listen to music. He doesn't read books over 500 pages long. You know, I don't know. Mike, what the hell do you do with your time, man?
What do you do with your time, Mike?
So I am currently reading The Tenacious Tale of Tana the Tendersword.
Nice.
And I'm listening to An Ocean of Others by Joshua Scott Edwards. So I'm actually trying to read some now because I stopped doing that once I started writing and yeah.
He's more of a Friar Tuck vibe than a Druid vibe, but I guess I get more cleric vibe out of Mike than Druid.
And I like to play video games from the 90s.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the ones that only require like one button and a joystick.
Turn-based.
The ones,
that, right? Something you can think about for a while.
The ones that so there's this thing that I saw online the other day that just made me laugh. It was this kid and he's like 13 and he's like, Mom, Dad, you don't understand. When I'm playing a game, I can't just pause it and do my chores. And then it had some guy responding and he's like, do not speak to me of the old ways. I was there when it was written, It was like,
I saw that yesterday, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah.
And this is actually true. I do make spreadsheets, a lot of them. And it does bring me joy.
Yeah, you and my husband would be besties.
I'm writing a series where aliens have come to the U.S., specifically U.S., and the government's hidden from everybody, and they take off and land in Area 51.
That's awesome.
I had to go onto Google Maps and please tell me they have Area 51 so I can at least see what it looks like, and they do. I mean, you just see buildings, you don't see anything, but I'm like, that's fine. That's all I need.
What did you expect to see there, man?
I don't know. Alien spaceships.
Okay.
But
Herman, that's the best comment we've ever had.
That's cruel. That's cruelty.
Oh, let's pick on Mike some more.
It's going to be a guest here in a couple weeks too. So
Mercedes, are your books, are they all standalones or are they serialized at all?
They're standalones. I wrote one that I didn't bring in here. It's called Nameless, and I wrote it when I got my motorcycle. So it's all about a girl that sees demons and is in love with her motorcycle, right? That is supposed to be one of 3. That's the only one that's not standalone. And the reason that happened is because my publishers sold it to Audible as like a 3-book deal, and then told me afterward. So it was meant to be a standalone. And at the end, I'm like, but wait, there's more. And never, that was 12 years ago, because I just can't make myself sit down and do that because they told me to, they're long since defunct, and that's an illegal thing that they did, but I didn't know that. But that's it. Most of mine tend to be kind of like, they show up in each other's worlds a little bit. So like the guy in Darling, that's my Southern Gothic, shows up in Pretty Little Dead Girls as, he's here as a police force and then shows up here as the lead detective and a main character in this.
So it's all the same world.
It's all the same world. Yeah.
Around place to place. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That will really help when you get like a a Netflix kind of thing with it. They can do a different season in a different place and reuse characters and everything.
Yeah, I like to do that. It's like a special treat, so I have a story in Love is a Crematorium. That story is actually called, this will surprise you, Love is a Crematorium. And it has this couple, they're like going into the gas station, and they open up and let this woman through and then nod to this guy, and he's this Asian American guy and this beautiful woman, and they walk through and that's it, and then it goes on. And those were the lead characters in Apocalyptic Montessa and Nuclear Lulu. It was Montessa and Lou. And they go in that gas station. There's this major intense carnage, fire, brimstone scene that happens. And it's like the other main characters in the story just missed that, I like to just have them, oh, there goes my computer. I like to just have them do things like that, just show up in different places. I find it amusing.
It's kind of fun for the reader of all your books to kind of go, oh, I know what that was, right? It's like they're in on a little inside joke. That's kind of nice.
It is. And I'm surprised when people pick up on stuff like that. They're like, this was so-and-so. And I was like, oh my gosh, you read my work. My mother didn't get to you, or whatever.
Well, you know where they didn't find your book, at least.
I know where they were not. Yes.
Mike, have we ever had a horror character go through the Bald Dome?
No.
Oh,
But I
no.
do have one question for you while I get the Bald Dome ready. And that is, did you have a favorite arcade game that you played?
Yeah. Tekken.
Nice.
I was at an arcade on a date once, and I beat
Because we used
everybody
to
in the
do things
arcade.
like that back in the day, folks.
It was amazing. I
Yeah.
was like, if you want my love, you just bring a bunch of quarters and meet me at the arcade.
Is
And
that a roll of quarters, or are you happy to see me? Woohoo!
woohoo!
Sorry.
And literally people were like lined up because I was really good at it. People were lined up and I was just like, next. And that was probably one of the happiest moments of my life. I actually named one of my kids after a Tekken character. So, I mean, that's my arcade game.
Nice.
I have a Nina.
Did you
brother
tell her that it was named after an arcade game?
Oh, she knows. She's like, Mom, that's so lame. And I'm like, yeah, she wants to name her cat Cheese Mold. So I don't think she gets to say anything.
Yeah. You lost that fight.
There was a girl in our high school. Her middle name was Galadriel.
Oh, no, dude.
Oh, really?
A girl I went with in high school, her sister's daughter, first name is Galadriel.
Nice.
She's like 18 now or something, yeah.
Because
Wow.
the girl, she always she goes, I'd hate it because people are like, is that Italian? She's like, no, it's Elven.
It's Elvish.
Elvin
You idiots.
has left the building.
She was not a sci-fi person or fantasy, so, she was not thrilled. So you have to pick one of your characters.
Okay.
Partake in the Bald Dome. So what we're going to do, because we want to know what your character is like, but we don't want you to give us spoilers.
Okay.
We're going to transport them to someplace else that ChatGPT has come up with. And the rules of your world still hold, but they're going to face a little dilemma, and then we'll set the scene and you tell us how it ends.
Okay.
We learn about your character, and if they die, it's on you. So
They've had worse. They've dealt with worse.
So who is your character that you're going to choose?
I haven't dealt with Mike rolling a D20.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to choose Mouth. He's in Nameless.
Okay, and what is he like?
He's a demon. He doesn't stop talking. So she just calls him Mouth. He has a real name, but no one ever uses it.
Okay, well, Mouth has been transported to a sunken city beneath the waves.
Awesome.
And sunken, Mike.
What?
You said sunken city. Where else would it be other than beneath the waves?
This is what ChatGPT came up with, okay?
All right,
So
that's fine.
talk to AI about it. Now, what is your favorite color?
Red.
Obviously. So, Mouth has a red fizzy potion.
And sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again, Mike. I took a little time today and did a little scouring, and I have a new list of potions.
Okay.
So, so when we get ready to do that.
Do you like to go off of your list then?
Yeah, let's take the potion off my list. That'll be fun.
Okay, I rolled a 6.
Hey, throw me a D20. No, you roll like shit.
Shots fired there.
No, he does. He's absolutely. Okay.
So Ro has rolled. You have a red fizzy potion that I don't know what it does either. But it's 100% effective. Whether they decide to take spells or throw it at their adversary, whatever it is, it's 100% effective all the time. But you don't know what it is.
Okay.
Okay, so now you get a choice. You can have a common item, or you can have a weapon. If you choose a common item, they will face a common animal. If you choose a weapon, they will face a fantasy creature. So what does Mouth want?
A weapon.
Okay.
He'd want a weapon regardless. I mean,
Well,
Even if he was going to a knitting bee or something.
yeah, he's like, here I am.
he couldn't have gone wrong. The regular item would have been a blacksmith's hammer, but instead he gets an arbalest, which is a type of heavy crossbow. I had to put that in for me because I didn't know what an arbalest was.
Well, thank you. I'm like, okay.
So he's a heavy crossbow, and he has a red fizzy potion, and he's in a sunken city beneath the waves. And I'm going to say that every time, Ro.
Yep, that's fine. We got you. Rugged.
Instead of facing a jaguar, he is going to face 19.
Wait a minute. What? He's going to face what?
Instead of a jaguar, he's going to face. I
What
rolled
the hell's a jaguar?
a jaguar. He's going to face a centaur.
I know you didn't mean jaguar.
That's what I said. I'm from Kentucky. I pronounce it how I want to.
Show me the eye.
Jaguar.
Yeah,
Anyway,
how many syllables in jaguar?
there's only 2 syllables in Louisville.
And neither one of them's an eye.
So
Sorry.
anyway, facing
No, I'm not sorry, damn it. Not sorry at all. It's fucking jaguar.
he has a heavy crossbow. He's facing a centaur in a sunken city beneath the waves with a red fizzy potion. He turns around the corner, and lo and behold, there is a centaur who is staring back at him. What happens next?
Wow. I think my guy would try and intimidate him. He'd just be like, "Do you not know who I am?" So does he have to use the potion or?
No, I mean, you're telling the story now. I just set it up. He turned the corner,
Okay.
or somehow they both got beneath the waves.
Okay. Yeah, he would intimidate him, and then he would take the potion and he would like dip his like arrow thing into it, and then he would shoot the centaur. He's not holding back. He's mad. He had a bad day.
The potion does nothing for his arrow.
You can't like use it and put it on your arrow and inject it into the dude.
Well,
Do you just
the centaur, so it should just affect the centaur.
You know what? I'll allow it. This
I mean,
might be
I wanted to get the potion into his body
okay.
in an
Sure.
aggressive, penetrating
Sure,
form.
yeah, let's do it.
Thank you.
What's the potion, Ro?
So does the arrow hit the centaur?
Yes. Right? Oh, does it? Do you
Yep,
have to roll for that?
No, it hits automatically. Like that's our rules that it does. So how perceptive is your guy? I mean, in a couple of minutes it won't matter, but how perceptive is he right away?
He's pretty perceptive.
Okay. The centaur seems to be getting aroused.
Oh gosh.
And as the seconds tick by, he is most definitely aroused.
Okay.
And he will stay that way for a good 4 hours.
That's terrible. My dude is not having that.
All he's thinking is, man, I'm glad I didn't drink this.
Oh man. Yes, I made the right choice.
So what happens now?
I think he would just straight beat him up. He would just straight beat him up. He's a very angry demon of some import, and he just doesn't have time for this tomfoolery. First, he would like verbally abuse him, and then he would just lay him out.
Is that a 1 or a 20?
20.
That's a 20? Okay. As he's beating up the centaur is kind of digging it. He's like, I rolled a 20. Mike would have rolled like a 3 or something. But given his current state, the centaur is really kind of loving that.
Wow. I mean, I find that hot, but my character wouldn't. Okay.
So what now?
Well, okay, that didn't happen. All right.
Okay. I think he would bite off the centaur's arms and then just leave.
Wow. That is dark.
I mean, wouldn't you?
So is he doing that just out of spite?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Maybe slow him down a little bit, but mostly spite, yeah.
He's feeling, he's lashing out.
He's like, yeah, like I said, he's had a bad day. He's got, demon-y things on his shoulders. He's got a lot to do.
Okay, that is one of the most odd trips.
We just have this aroused centaur sitting there with no arms and no way to do
Yes, we can't do anything about it, can he? I'm just
Find
saying.
a wall.
He's going, it's just a flesh wound.
I've had worse.
It's a scratch, only a scratch. But your arm's off, no.
Yeah, we've never had anybody bite limbs off anybody or anything before. So yeah, thanks for
I'm delighted.
keeping it on brand.
Delighted to be your first limb biter offer.
So when's the next book come out, Mercedes?
Well, I'm shopping one now. Oh, I don't know. I have a bunch of things in the works, like short stories. There's one probably coming out, I would say later this year, maybe in springtime. That is a novella, and it's kind of a secret society thing, and it's going to be in an anthology of other novellas, and I'm really excited for it. It's very, very dark. It's called The Secret Witches of Paradise is mine, and it's very dark, and it ties into the novel that I'm shopping right now. So it's sharing that world. And the stars are carnivorous. The moon is carnivorous. That's one of my favorite themes that I like to write about.
You have an agent?
I fired her. So not right now, no.
Okay. So how most of the people on the show, excuse me, and probably who watch it as well are indie. So they don't have agents and all that kind of stuff. How big of a pain is it to go through that process? And having just fired an agent,
Yeah, I've had 2 agents. It's having a bad agent is worse than not having an agent at all, right? The querying is kind of obnoxious because it takes a long time, like 6 months usually on minimum to even hear back. And so you've got to like wait. In the horror genre, I mean, if I wanted to be bigger, I would probably do an agent more, but I like making my own decisions. So I just signed like a 6-book deal with a group. It's kind of a multi-author thing that I didn't have to run past an agent. So I can just decide whether I want to do it or not. I like the freedom of that, but then there's also something really nice to be like, this guy hasn't paid me, you take care of him, because I just want to write. I don't want to do the rest of this stuff. I just want to write stories, man. So I think it's worth trying an agent, but they kind of shackle you a little bit, like mine, I fired because I found out she wasn't reading my work. She was having someone else read my work. And she wasn't really as familiar with horror. I kind of felt like I was introducing her to places and she wasn't like introducing me to places kind of. And it was just easier to do it myself and not have to worry, and not have that responsibility and just kind of. So, I mean, there are definitely good things about it, but it's not a bad thing to go on your own.
That's pretty bad if your agent actually isn't reading your book.
I mean, I thought so. I'm like, you're missing an enjoyable time.
Well, you're also missing knowing about what the hell it is you're supposed to be trying to sell.
Well, someone else was explaining it to her, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys haven't read my stuff, but I have a pretty distinct voice. Like I said, kind of the whimsical horror thing. And you can't describe that to someone really, like if you're reading my work, you're probably like, oh, this is a Mercedes book. I can kind of tell. Right. And like, she just wouldn't know that, so it's just kind of, having them describe it. Just, you can describe the plot, but you can't describe the feel of it, so.
Do you like driving?
Yes.
You ever driven a Porsche?
No.
You know anybody who has?
Is this a Mercedes joke or no, I don't.
I didn't even think about that. No.
You missed
someone
it.
explained to you what it was like to drive a Porsche. How the hell is that going to help you? Right? And to me, that woman is trying to explain driving a Porsche without having driven the Porsche. She hasn't read your book. She can't really explain to someone what you are as a writer, what your voice is, what your characters are like, from getting an abbreviated Cliff Notes version from someone. I'm glad you fired her. Actually, I'm happy for you.
It was a tough decision because I'm really nice and I hate confrontation. Sorry, my alarm went off. It's time for my children to do their chores. I have the alarm so I can be like, it was a tough decision and it should have been easier than it was, but I didn't want to I don't know. I was like, maybe it will get better. And it wasn't. So I'm really happy without this particular agent, but sometimes I think it would just be nice to, because mostly in horror, especially, you don't need an agent to like go to the smaller indie presses and I've built enough contacts that if I want to, submit somewhere, I pretty much am allowed to do that without an agent, but there are some that like you can only, only an agent can submit there. So there are opportunities that I'm sure I would be missing, but I would rather just write what I want to write, and put it out when I want to put it out and not have to. I don't like to answer to people. I think I'm very good at following rules, but apparently, as my husband tells me, I am not. I don't like to answer to people. If I want to do something, I want to do that. And if you can't explain to me in a really good reason why I can't do that, then I'm not going to believe a word you say, and I'm going to do it anyway. So I I can just feel my face lighting up. I like to do what I want. Like I liked seeing this deal and being like, yeah, I can fit that in my calendar. I want to do that. Let's do that. As opposed to like, well, let me talk to my agent. Let me run this through. Let me see what my agent has planned for me.
Yeah.
And another thing about that is I can't do a lot of traveling like some authors really can. My son with special needs, the dual diagnosis, I have to be home. He has a really hard time when I leave. I can leave for like very short sprints, but like the whole book tour and some of the things, I couldn't do those. And I think that's kind of frustrating for an agent because they feel a little bit limited, like I can't show up for that. I can't go to this. I'm not going to. And when I won the second Stoker, I wasn't even there for that. I had a friend go and pick it up for me because like I couldn't go. And so I think it's hard for an agent to have a client that's like, I would love to, but I can't. I can do online things, but I just can't. Family comes first always for me.
Yeah,
and I just,
When do you find out about the next Stoker?
That's in June, I think. So I made the preliminary, which is like 10 stories. And then they do the final ballot, which is 5 stories. And that's when you can officially say I'm a Bram Stoker nominee. Now I'm just on the preliminary ballot. They're very picky about the words you use. And then they have the final, they announce it in like June.
How many people are in that competition to begin with?
Oh, hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. So like Stephen King's on there, like a bunch of and they do script writing. So like Heretic is on there and different, movies and things. It's huge. It's the biggest one. Like it's what people vie for,
Right. Well, very cool. I hope you can come back in June and show us your third one.
Thank you. And if not, fantastic. Last year I got to actually give one out, and that was amazing. Like, and the nominees are, yay, it was like, I was like, this is so surreal. Like I'm on TV in a sparkly sequin blazer, like with, it was so cool. It's just kind of
when somebody walked up and just started stabbing you in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's the Stokers. No, just so because this is interesting, horror writers are the most well-adjusted group of writers I've ever met.
Really?
Like, yeah, because we're talking about what scares us all the time, right? We're talking about it. We process it. We're not like, hiding it. It's very healthy. So you'll find that, Stephen Graham Jones, who's one of my favorite authors, is just terrifying, but he's like just a nice laid back guy. It's just really fun. I like it. So it's a very jovial convention.
Where is it at? Is that
this year? It's in Connecticut. Last year it was in San Diego, and the first time I went, it was here in Vegas. So I just got to zip down the street and go. So, but it travels.
Yep.
And you think that would be something that they would do in Cleveland?
Yeah. Yeah.
The horror stuff should be in Ohio somewhere. You would think.
Mercedes, are you going to go to Worldcon by any chance in Seattle this year?
I'm thinking about it just because I miss Seattle so much. I'm considering it. When is that?
It is August, I think like 13th, 17th, something.
Okay, during the summer.
August.
Possibly. I might do that instead of StokerCon because I went last year and I go rarely. 2 years in a row is kind of a lot for the same convention, Well,
I will be at Worldcon, so if you're there, I'm going to be volunteering at the free lounge, so indie authors or anybody really can donate books, and then they're just there free, and people can walk by and pick up their next great read.
That's awesome. I will stalk you if I'm there.
I will be there because this way I'd heard other authors, they went to Dragon Con and they all like stayed as a pack and they went around together, and that's just horrifying to me. So I was like, you know what? I'll just be at the free lounge and you can come pick up a book and then go read and leave me alone.
So you're an introvert then.
That sounds so much better. Oh, here you go. Sina wants you to come to Telluride so she can tell you you're beautiful in person and not make it creepy because she can do that.
I would be delighted. Well, Cena sounds charming.
She's
Horror Film Festival.
she hopefully will have her first book out, and you can like trade books or something.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
All right, your buzzer went off a while ago. Get those kiddos to work.
Yeah, they have to earn their keep here.
That's right. And try to stay cool this summer.
I will. Thank you. I just realized how very dark it got here. This is like
It's again, you're staying on brand, so that's all good.
right here. I am. Yeah.
Lit from the bottom like the gates of hell.
I mean, I have a red ukulele right here. I mean, it's a very joyful.
That's right. Your hair is kind of like flame tips coming
Right?
up. And,
Look at that.
It's kind of perfect.
And hopefully EL has caught on fire for even typing this.
Yeah.
That could not be
Oh,
further
hey.
further-
My brother-in-law and I do a great Alice in Chains karaoke. So,
I would have to do a Weird Al song.
oh, that would be good too. Okay.
Sold.
Sold.
All right. Where can people find you online?
Oh, yeah. So I'm most active on Facebook, Mercedes Murdoch Yardley. I'm on Twitter, I mean, X or whatever, at Mercedes MY. I'm on Blue Sky. It's at Mercedes, Miss Murder Mercedes, because my name was taken apparently. And also MercedesYardley.com is just my site. So just come by. But yeah, Facebook is a place to find me mostly. And I'm very interactive. I like to talk to people. So that's the place.
And again, if you wouldn't mind giving us the links to your artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your all those socials again, and we can get those put in the notes to the video, so anybody can go there tomorrow probably and find links for all that stuff, and that'd be awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll do that tonight.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us for an hour, and thanks to all the folks who are here or on Twitter, wherever you happen to be watching. And appreciate your time. And Mike, we're doing this again tomorrow night, right?
We are. We have the Book Hermit. Her last name's Schaefer. Is it Laura? I should know.
No, that's the 1st of February, Kristen
I lied.
Schaefer.
Oh, you're right. No, this is the
More of looking back, looking forward with a bunch of people, apparently.
Adler from Here We Go blog, Jody from Witty and Sarcastic, and Mahir, who is the fantasy book critic. And we're going to talk about where they see fantasy is going, what they think is, because, Cozy was hot for a while before that, Grimdark, and kind of where do they see it going now. But yeah, so that should be an interesting talk tomorrow.
All right.
So
thanks, everybody.
Sounds great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Mercedes.